So in this challenge, we need to create 3 methods, and I have noted down the challenge here. The first method is get recent health changes. So let's go back to our VS Code and create this method. And we need to create this method in our CT person controller class. So let's write our code here. And let's make sure what will be the output or what will be the return type of this method. So in this method, we need to search for person records, and in the end we need to return the list of person records. So our return type will be a list, and this will be a list of person record. And as you can see, I do not get the auto completion feature for my custom object. VS Code doesn't know about my custom object. So to resolve this, we need to fetch the S object information from our Salesforce org to our local project. So let's open our command palette and search for refresh S object definition. So what this command will do, it's going to fetch the S object definition from our Salesforce org. And make sure that you select all objects here, whether it is a standard object or a custom object, so you get the code completion feature for all your Apex code. This is going to take some time, maybe it can take up to a minute as well, so wait for this command to complete. So it took 3 minutes for this command to complete, and now we should be able to get the auto completion feature for our custom objects as well. So I think we need to restart our VS Code for that. So I'm going to save my code and I'm going to close the VS Code, and then let me open the VS Code again. Okay, now let's try it again. Let's try to write our method again. So it will be a public static list of, here static is not mandatory, but this makes my task easier to call these methods. So we are going to have these methods as static methods. And now we should be able to see the person object as well, which is this one. And we are going to name this method as get recent health changes. And this method doesn't accept any parameters, so we'll close our parenthesis and that's it. Now in this method, we need to query all the person records, and we need to limit our search result by 100, and then we need to sort the result by the status update date in descending order, and then we need to return the list of person records back to the caller. So as you have guessed, we need to write a SQL query here, and for that we are going to use a shortcut. So let's go to our Salesforce org and let's open the developer console, and here we are going to build our SQL query. So let's click on the file menu and select open resource, and here type in person_c so that we get the information about the person object. And since we need to query all the fields, let's select ID, name, health status, mobile, status update date, token. Yeah, we need to select these fields only and click on query. So this will generate a SQL query for us, and this is a simple SQL query, but we need to sort our results by the status update date. So that's what it says here. So we need to use a order by clause, and this should be ordered by the status update date in descending order. And we also need to limit our search result by 100. So we are going to type in limit as well here, limit 100. So this is our SQL query that we are going to use in our method. So let's declare a list of person record, and let's call them as people, and then we need to start our square braces and then our SQL query. So our SQL query is select ID, name, health status, mobile, status update date, and token from person, which is our object name, and we are sorting it by status update date, and we are limiting our search result by 100. So that's it. And now we need to return this people list back to the method caller. So I'm simply going to remove this list of person here. Instead, I'll use my return statement. So this will directly return the list of person record back to my method caller. I'll also paste some comment here. So in this method we are querying 100 contacts with recent health status changes. Now let's go back to our developer console and try to execute this query just to make sure that it works. So click on this execute, and this is working fine, although we are not getting any search result because we do not have any person record in our Salesforce org. So we can totally do that. What we are going to do, let me create some person records here. Click on this person object here and click on new. Let's name this person as John and let's give a mobile number, and let's save this and let's create one more record and let's name it as Nick. Again, let's give a sample mobile number. Let's create few more records. So we have created 4 different records in our Salesforce org, and let's go back to developer console and refresh the script. So now we have 4 different records in our Salesforce org, but we do not have a status update date for these. For now, let's give some sample date here, maybe like 2020 07 07. And let's save our rows. So we are able to save our records, and let me close this tab here and I'm going to query these records again. And this time we are able to sort our search result by the status update date, because now we see that 1st of August comes before 7th of July. But before that we are getting null values. So we need to make sure that these null values where status update date is not populated, they come in last. And for that we need to use our keywords nulls last. And if you do not remember these keywords, make sure that you revisit the SOQL section in this course. So let's write down nulls last in our SOQL query and click on the execute button again. And this time these null values comes in the end. So let's copy this query again and let's go back to our VS Code and replace this SOQL query with the new one that we have just written. So this is about the method 1. Now let's go back to the requirement and let's check out our method number 2, which is search people, and it accepts a string parameter called search term. And in our SOQL query we need to make sure that this search term matches the name, mobile or token of the person record. And again we need to sort by the status update date in descending order. So let's go back to the developer console, and here we are going to keep our order by close, but we are going to remove the limit keyword here because this time we do not need to limit our queried records. And since we need to match the search term here, we need to have a where condition in our SOQL query. So I'm going to write down the where condition here, and we need to either match the name, mobile or token field. So let's write down name, and we don't need to write equals to here because this is a search term and we need to likely find a search result which matches that search term, right? So we are going to use like operator here, and here we are going to write down our search term, and then we are going to have a wildcard called % in the end, so that we matches all the names which starts with this search term. And then we need to have the similar condition on the token field as well and on the mobile number as well. So to define our second condition, we are going to use OR keyword because either the name can match the search term or the token or the mobile. So let's copy it, paste it here, and then we are going to use one more OR and paste it again. In the second OR condition, we are going to replace name with mobile _C. And in the third one, we are going to replace it with token _C. So this will be our SOQL query that we'll be using in our second method. So let's go back to the VS Code, and after our get recent health changes method, let's write down our third method, which will be public static. Again, the return type will be list of person record, and then we are going to name it as search people. and this is going to accept a string parameter. So let's call it search term, and here we are going to specify our SOQL query. So let's use our square brackets and go back to our developer console. Let's copy this query and paste it here. And here we are going to append our wildcard to this search term. So let's use this variable search term is equals to search term plus ampersand. It should be plus. So this way we can append the wildcard to our search term. And now instead of writing down this as a string here, we are using the binding variable, which will be used using this colon icon and the variable name, which is search term. So let's copy this and paste it at all the places. So if I'll show you the SOQL query now, it looks like this. Let me paste them in the new rows. So this is our SOQL query where we are having three conditions all joined by the OR keyword, and where we are finding the person records which matches this search term, and then we need to return this to method caller. So I'm going to use my return statement here, and that's it. This will be our second method. Now let's go back to the requirements and check out our third method, which is get person by ID, and in this one we need to find a person record which matches this person ID. So this method should be easier than the previous two that we have just created. So let's go back to the VS Code. Let me copy the method name first, and let's create our third method. And instead of returning the list of person, this is going to return only one single record. So the return type would be person double underscore C here, and then the method name, which is get person by ID, and it accepts a person ID from the method caller. So I'm going to copy this query and then I'm going to paste it. First I'm going to remove the order by clause because this will be a one single record, so we don't need any order by clause here, and we don't need the limit keyword as well. So remove this completely. Rather we are going to have a where condition. First let me do it in multi-line. So we are going to have a where condition here where the ID is equals to this person ID that we'll get from the method caller. So we are going to use this person ID as a binding variable in our SOQL query. Now here we cannot directly return this SOQL query to our method caller because this SOQL query is going to give us list of person record. So we need to make sure that we only return one person record instead of returning the list of person record. So what I'll do, I'll store this list of person record in a list, and I'm going to call it people, and then I'm going to check if this people is not blank. So let's have a if condition here. First we'll check if people is not equals to null, and then we'll check if this list size is greater than 0. If that is the case, then we are going to return our very first item from this list. So it will be like people 0th element from this people array or people list. If that is not the case, then we are going to return the null value. So this statement will only execute if people list is null or the people list size is not greater than 0. Else we are going to return the 0th element from this people list. So I think that's all in our challenge number 2. And now we need to deploy our changes to our Salesforce org. But before that, let me paste some comments here so that our code is more readable. So let's deploy our changes, and for that we can right click on this class and click on deploy this source to org. And this is when we can find out some error as well in our code. So you don't find the errors while you are typing in the VS Code, you only find it when you are trying to push or deploy your changes to your Salesforce org. Let me show you a quick example of that as well. What I'll do, I'll remove the semicolon from here. I'll save my code and then I'll try to deploy my changes to Salesforce org. And this time we'll be able to find out the errors in our code. So you see our deployment has failed and we have got an error on line number 35 and it says unexpected token return because we don't have a semicolon on the previous line. So let's change it back and deploy this back to our Salesforce org. So that's all in the challenge number 2. In the next video, we are going to discuss the challenge number 3 in contact tracing application.